Have you ever wondered how amateur growers like me successfully grow these incredible tropical Nepenthes pitcher plants in a greenhouse in the very untropical north of England, or even in the house? I naturally have practically none of the conditions they enjoy, except perhaps for the humidity. So how are they able to thrive through a freezing cold and frosty British winter? Well, in this video I'm going to show you 8 essential things you need to start you off on your own journey to ensure that your Nepenthes not only continue to grow but thrive under your care, producing pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. I'll go through them one by one, explain how to use and implement them for the best results. I'll also discuss costs and sourcing them, and of course what results you can expect. But before we begin, let me quickly tell you what happened to me before I had these 7 essentials in place. In a nutshell, I lost loads of cash and eventually the will to live. Well, maybe not quite so severe, but I did become somewhat disheartened. Like most enthusiastic plant growers, I'd often salivated at the beautiful images of all the huge varieties of Nepenthes plants out there, and I wanted some of the action. The big mistake I made, the big mistake that all plant lovers make, is to buy before doing the research. The result? Nepenthes plants with dying pitchers, lack of vigour, certainly no new pitchers, and finally stone dead plants. And that's no small thing to happen when you see what some of these hybrids can actually cost over here in the UK. But through a continual diet of videos, reading and growing experience, I discovered the secrets. And you can too if you watch this video. Let's get to those essentials. And we are in. So, in what I consider to be order of importance, one of my biggest and most costly Nepenthes losses happened around 4 years ago. I had a beautiful plant that arrived from the cellar full of gorgeous deep red pitchers. I grew it in the conservatory and watched with horror as it slowly lost leaf after leaf and eventually went to join its maker. But why did it die? Well, Nepenthes come from tropical and semi-tropical places. Frost will kill them, but there are many species from a wide variety of elevations, resulting in even more hybrids that can withstand a huge range of temperatures. They are roughly categorised into lowland and highland plants. Those are 2 words that's worth remembering. As a general rule of thumb, if you're buying for a place that can get temperatures, say, below 15 degrees Celsius on a regular basis, you're better off going for a highland hybrid. But if your growing environment rarely drops below this number, you might want to try a lowland hybrid. I wouldn't recommend a species as they'll have more specific needs and are best left to the real enthusiasts. So why did my conservatory grown plant die? You might have guessed already, it was a lowland plant. It wasn't used to temperatures much below around 18 degrees Celsius, and it certainly didn't get that through a UK winter. The temperatures killed it. Make sure that doesn't happen to you. So, how do you know if the hybrid you're looking to purchase can take the temperatures that you can offer? You've got to research it. The web's full of resources where you can simply input the hybrid that you're after and it will throw out the temperatures that it can take. And the reverse is true too. You can actually look for hybrids that can cope with the temperatures that you can already offer. I'll link to a great resource in the description that can do just that. But if, like me, you'll be growing in a place that will get really low temperatures day and night through the winter, you might want to buy the setup that I'm going to show you, which is my first essential bit of kit over there. Here I'm showing you a heater and a controller. It might be no surprise to you that this is my first essential. I have a cheap fan heater, about £45, controlled by this gadget, which is a cheap controller, also about £45. I use the cheaper Chinese made controllers. They last for a few years and are more than adequate. They keep my temperatures above 12 degrees, which is fine for my highland Nepenthes. Now, when you first begin growing Nepenthes, you're told to keep them moist but not wet. How on earth can you do that? Surely that's the exact same thing? Well, not quite. You see, if you stand the Nepenthes in water like you would with some other carnivorous plants, the roots can actually rot. And even if they don't rot immediately, you'll certainly notice a lack of vigour through a lack of oxygen and airflow getting to the roots. Think about where they grow naturally, in forest leaf litter, in moss, in the crooks of branches. They only have tiny fibrous roots that are used to plenty of aeration in the form of a loose airy mixture. Standing them in water wouldn't give them that. To recreate that airy environment around the roots, we grow them in moss or other mixtures that can provide that characteristic. Coir can work, as can bark or coconut husks. But one surefire way to make sure that they're well drained is to hang them up. which is why a hanging basket is my essential number 2. If you want to save cash, you can simply make something from wire, like I've done on 1 or 2 plants in my collection. Hanging them has the double benefits of allowing excess water to drain through, while at the same time letting the pitchers hang nicely down the side of the pot so as not to spill their contents, but also displaying them to their best effect. So that brings us to the watering methods. I know what you're thinking: if I water them in position, won't the water just immediately drain through without really wetting the media? Well, you'd be correct, and that can happen if you use a watering can. The media, especially if it's peat moss, can dry out and shrink away from the sides of the pot, despite being watered, and nothing will kill pitchers more quickly than allowing the roots to dry out. And that's why essential number 3 is a pump action sprayer, costing only a small amount to purchase. This allows me to easily reach the hanging baskets, but crucially, by regularly offering a spray of water into the top of the pot, the media is more efficiently moistened throughout, rather than just soaked in one spot, leaving only a few drops to drain through at the bottom of the pot. Which brings me to the water itself. Naturally, they're used to a poor growing media with only a low nutrient content, hence the need to supplement their diet with these fantastically adapted leaves. So they won't thank you for using tap water. Use either distilled water or, my particular preference, rainwater, which of course is free. You'll need some method to collect the rainwater. I have 2 water barrels running off the garage and the greenhouse respectively. The simplest method would be to simply leave a bucket outside to collect the rain. So you've got all these things in place, you've heard they need lots of light, so you place them right next to the window and you sit back and you wait for growth, but no, instead you get leaves turning red. Whilst it's true that most Nepenthes like the sun, they don't like it from behind glass, which can magnify its effects to the point that very few plants can take it directly for long. Red leaves are a warning sign. They won't hurt the plant, but it's telling you that the sun is too strong. So the rule is, as bright a light as you can give them, but not direct sun through glass. If, like me, you don't get much light, then you can supplement it. Essential number 5 is supplemental lighting. I use fairly cheap grow lights here, but any artificial light will help, even a cheap strip light. All things being equal, lack of light is probably the most common reason Nepenthes fail to picture. So unless you live very close to a local rubbish dump and have a house filled with flies, your plants are unlikely to catch much in the way of food. Here in the greenhouse, mine do get a small diet of fungus gnats and other small creatures that manage to find their way inside. But for the winter months, I supplement their diet with essential number 6, fish flakes. They're cheap, they store well, they're readily available, and they do the job nicely. I pop a single flake or 2 into every open pitcher roughly once a month. And if you want to give your Nepenthes an extra boost, you can add a little bit of dilute orchid feed, say about 1/3 strength, into your sprayer and give them a foliar feed. Sorry to briefly interrupt my list at this point, but I wanted to tell you about a personal consultancy service I'm offering currently at half price for Black Friday, where you can jump on a one-to-one call with me by clicking the link in the description, and I'll help you with your Nepenthes, Streptocarpus, cyclamen, begonias, or anything else relating to the channel or the video content you've seen me on. On with the list. So I've already explained the main reason for plants not picturing, but perhaps the second most common reason is that the plants have started to vine. They're natural climbers, so after about the age of 3 to 5 years, they'll send out a long vining shoot. You can let this grow if you want to see the unusual rather than beautiful flowers, but all this energy expenditure can come at the cost of new pitchers. Nepenthes tend to produce different size and shape pitchers along the vine, which can roughly be grouped into lower pitchers and upper pitchers. The uppers tend to be smaller and less showy, but you might have the patience and the space to grow the vine so you can see them. Personally, I want smaller, tidier plants and more of the bigger, lower, showier pitchers, which is why I consider snippers, secateurs, pruners, call them what you want, to be essential number 7, so that you can prune the vine back to a healthy node. This encourages new basal shoots from the base of the plant, which are far more likely to produce pitchers. The last essential on my list are actually books. Both of these books are considered to be the equivalent of Bibles in the carnivorous world, because they tell you practically everything you need to know about not only Nepenthes, but other carnivorous plants too. I realise many people today just go on YouTube or Google to learn things, but if you're serious about growing more than one Nepenthes plant, then you shouldn't underestimate how much value you'll get from these books. I've no affiliation with either of them, just the experience of regularly thumbing through them to find things out. Well worth picking up, even if you're just fascinated by the wonderful world of carnivorous plants. Tell me in the comments down below if you think there are other essentials that I've left out. So if you follow my tips so far, you'll no doubt eventually have plenty of Nepenthes prunings to spare, all ready for propagation, so that you can swap them with friends or just increase your stock. In which case, you'll need to know how you can do that in a few simple steps. And this video up here will show you how. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.